I am gaming. I am gaming. I am gaming podcast.
Hi everybody, my name is Ivica. Thank you so much for joining into a new episode of I Am Gaming Podcast. This is an interview episode. I'm super happy to have a really interesting guest today, a person who is into a range of creative ventures, all of them interesting and all of them unusual. So thank you so much, WeiWei, for being today in I Am Gaming Podcast. And you're talking to us from if I'm not mistaken, Taiwan?
Yes, I'm in
Awesome.
Taiwan right now, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Again, thanks for being here. And first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? What's your background, professional, educational, and what have you been doing all these years?
Yeah, um, I like to think of myself as someone who is interested in design and creative autonomy, and also the idea of indepreneur, which is a word smash between being indie and entrepreneur. Um, I grew up sort of between several cultures. I was raised in Shanghai, and my parents are from Taiwan, and I was born in America. And being across different culture and just also between them has also allowed me to sort of see things or experience things slightly differently, because naturally people don't consider me a local, and so I have to sort of define myself more intentionally. But yeah, I went to school for interaction design, and I now sort of build projects with friends on a monthly basis, where we build a product and then we sort of go through the whole process of initiating and also ideating, concepting, marketing, and also launching and maintaining ourselves. And something that we recently rolled out is this project called MakeSpace, which is a new video environment for all of us to hang out and also work in.
So it's kind of a collaborative tool you're working on right now.
Yes, it is.
Okay, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's only one, like in a long series of projects with many projects preceding it and many projects, I'm guessing, coming in the future, right?
Yeah. With the creative collective that I started with my friends, which is called Tiny Factories, we hope to sort of create and also help maintain and facilitate a collective of sort of indiepreneurs that are interested in becoming financially and creatively independent. And through that, we try to help each other to build and also put out projects. So that's sort of the larger umbrella that hosts a lot of the projects that I've been working on. But MakeSpace is a project that's outside of Tiny Factories.
Okay. So it's an independent process, and I'm guessing it's a larger process. It sounds like something that's only from a developmental side, a lot more demanding in terms of actual infrastructure, the IT infrastructure needed for it to work.
Yeah, I think we're really excited. We're definitely extremely excited about the potential and also the possibilities with MakeSpace. And so we want to be extra intentional as we build this project out. Whereas with some of the Tiny Factories project, they're mostly currently focusing on being single featured. So each project has one feature or a maximum two. And so it's very simple. And the goal with that is, very focused and very simple. The goal with that is to really understand, really like scope a project down so that we actually put it out in the world. Because as you may have experienced, and I definitely have a ton, which is like when you work on a project, you get really, really, really excited about the future and also how big the vision is, that it sometimes sort of like swallow you in a way.
Yeah,
and
it balloons.
At one point, yes. And so before you get to the finish line, you already feel tired or demotivated. And what I've learned is that it's really helpful to start really small and to iterate and also snowball it into something bigger over time, instead of just like try to eat the whole thing and try to like,
of course. I mean, in my experience, we first actually met and became aware of each other through Reddit and our entrepreneur subreddit, where we talked about the book I published then, which is The Pursuit of Micro Success, which is basically exactly about that. It's keep your ventures small. Keep them small, keep them functional. And in my view, it's all about that collision of having top heavy or bottom heavy concepts. All of things you're talking about, in my view, are bottom heavy concepts. Things that might be ultimately not that successful, but they will be workable. And I think a lot of people today have a big problem with making things workable, especially not only like in business ventures, but even in more diluted business ventures, like creating content, for example, on YouTube, in gaming or creating games. People tend to make everything they do that one big, huge thing that will be one big, huge thing in my life. It might be, but if we all make ventures like that, with that mentality, 98% of them will never see the light of day. And I really like the idea of tiny factories and your general approach, I mean, even personally, of trying to avoid precisely that. And as you say, doing that one feature, one thing that works and getting out in the world. I'm guessing that you have a background where you had projects, as you say, like probably everyone else, where things worked the opposite way. How did you came about the concept of tiny factories and actually these kind of solid, focused one? The kind of a bad way of describing it would be one trick pony. But if you have a pony that does one trick well, it's a pretty cool pony anyway. So I would love to have that pony. If you have 10 ponies like that, well, you have a thing that would probably set you for life. So how did the idea came about?
I think I went to a design school for college, and so I think the environment and the structure of a design school really, really inspired me. And the way a design school works is like, you sort of go in and you have a major in mind and you sort of start learning about that major. And by the time you finish this 4-year program, hopefully you sort of come out with several new skills that you're now equipped with. And I sometimes think back about that 4 years around like how I went in not really knowing a ton, but I came out, I still have a ton to learn, but I now have like a few tools that I can work with. And that's really magical. And during that whole process, I also had a lot of friends and peers and classmates and teachers that supported me, and we also supported each other around like, how do we help each other get better, and how do we brainstorm and riff on ideas together. And something that I noticed after thinking more about it was that the projects that we worked on in the first year and second year were much smaller in comparison to the projects we worked on in the last year of the college. And so there was something interesting about like, for the projects in the beginning, they were very small and they were very constrained. And the goal for that was for you to just not think about too many variables, to just think about one thing and then try to get better or try to experiment with that one thing. And then as you become more and more comfortable with that language, that environment, and those tools, you then sort of make the problem and make the project a little bit more complicated and a little bit more complex, so that you then sort of challenge yourself. And over time, the complexity of the project increase. And but at the same time, you are also challenging yourself and also getting better at all of those things and being able to manage several variables all at once. And that sort of inspired me to think about how I would want to approach projects now that I don't have that school environment. And it feels like if I can start with building products that are very constrained, the same way that I started learning design, then perhaps over time, the project that I want to work on can get a little bit more complicated or complex. And in the long term, hopefully I will be able to build something that's much more interesting with a lot more pieces that I need to work with. But to begin with, I think it's really nice that there's only a few small pieces to it. And at the same time, my friends and I are also interested in sort of supporting each other and giving feedback so that we're not just working in a vacuum or working with the door closed, but instead we are working with each other and throwing at each other ideas and as encouraging each other to put things out. And as we do that, we learn a lot more faster, and we also don't get burned out as fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm listening to you, and I'm really impressed how how well the concept covers a lot of psychological basis. As for anyone who is into any kind of creative business process, or even just creative process, it's that idea of starting small, building up your skill set, building up your confidence in that skill set, and then gradually expanding that scope of projects. And that's the same thing how people usually successfully learn new skills, as you say, overcome any kind of barriers in learning, in the personal development, is that organic growth, basically. And as you grow, the project grows around you, or you grow around the project. It's both are probably true. So that's really cool. And it's really cool that you have a community around it. I mean, no, I know it's like a rule of thumb today. Hey, say something positive about the community, have a community, but it's true. I mean, even in ventures like this, where a lot of modern entrepreneurial mentality is quite different. It's very hermetic. It's very hush hush. Don't let anyone hear your idea. It might be the best idea ever, and someone will steal it, which is completely false in my view. It's a completely unadaptive way to approach it, and more akin to a world hundreds of years ago. Even then, it probably was pointless. You know that Benjamin Franklin, for example, when he was a young man, he was obsessed with the idea of building a community, even like 300 years ago, and he was really successful at it. So then it might had some kind of a background to it that was sensible. Today it has none. So having community is awesome.
Yes,
would you
it is.
like people to join that community? Is it open for others?
Right now, we have a small wait list because there has been several more folks that have applied, and we want to be intentional with growing the group because when you have too many new members that come in all at once, then a lot of the culture and the norms that we have already in place can get sort of like out of order or like yeah, so we want to bring in people and onboard people in a more intentional way. So yes, the group is open for others to join, but there is a little bit of a wait time as we sort of grow it more intentionally.
Of course. Yeah, you want to continue having that concept of the group, but still see it expand and everything. So of course, the link to Tiny Factories and everything else will be in the description. So if anyone interested, please check it out below. Now, besides the collaborative platform you're working on, any major new plans for the upcoming months?
I think we're now focusing on building plugins for Figma, the design tool.
Okay.
And we want to experiment with building several tools for assisting and sort of empowering folks that are working within Figma to think about like how do you possibly automate some of the tedious tasks. So yeah, that's something that we're focusing on right now in terms of the projects that I'm working on with some friends. And I think MakeSpace is also really, really, really exciting for me and my teammates. And so I really look forward to sort of sharing more with the world and also sort of collaborating with the world on sort of making that into an intentional and also helpful tool and environment for folks.
Absolutely. And I mean, we know that it's 2020. A lot of people are talking, working, and using collaborative tools and expanding them. Some of it, it's a bubble, in my view, but a lot of it will stick. And your platform in particular, I just saw the demo that is online. Looks really promising because, again, like most of things we talked about here, it seems really light in terms of its approach to users. And I think, I mean, Zoom is the perfect example. Really, people are always, at least in the modern environment, hungry for things that are light and instantly usable. And definitely this looks like that. So I hope it takes off. It doesn't sound like a tiny factory project. It sounds like a huge project. So that's really cool to hear. Besides those plugins for design tools you mentioned, what are your personal aspirations for the coming period? I know it's 2020 and only really brave people make any plans for the upcoming months. So besides like the constraints of a global pandemic, it's great that we're so deep into 2020 that we can say, oh, in a casual manner, it's a global pandemic. But besides all of that, and besides like the objective problems of working on things and everything, what's your kind of personal interest right now? Where would you love to go besides finance and organization, everything else? What's the big thing that you have like on your radar, personal creative radar?
There's some things that I've been thinking about and about to start experimenting with. I think there's like gardening in general that I'm really interested in.
Okay, cool.
There's, in the long run, I'm really interested in potentially sort of helping or building or designing like an intergenerational housing situation.
Okay.
But in the short term, and then I'm interested in doing a little bit more of like photo comic, if that makes sense. I think you might have come across web comics, like comics that are online in a long blog form. And I'm interested in sort of mixing that with photographs that I take. So I now live in Taiwan, and it's my first time living here for more than 4 months. And I've been able to sort of visit some places that I haven't really been to before, and I hope to write a little bit more about those places that I visit, but in a photo and text and comic sort of collage way.
Awesome. Would be fiction or non-fiction?
It will be more like a journal. So it will be about it's like about what I see as I travel. Yes, photo essay, photo comic. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds really interesting, especially if you're in a place that's, again, it's saying you're in a place that inspires is meaningless now because everyone is inspired by everything constantly. But yeah, it sounds like, especially with your background of personal background, you have the unique perspective on it, and you're now in a unique place. Taiwan is it's a really unique country. I never visited, but like only historically and economically speaking, geopolitically speaking. So it sounds like a really interesting project. Are you planning putting it up online, or you're just in an experimental phase now?
Yeah, I just started thinking about this like yesterday. So, but I'm hoping to get at it soon. And when I have like a short piece, I'll definitely put it online.
Awesome. That's great. That's really cool. I will also leave a link to your personal Twitter account, so this can be like a hub of everything you're doing. And if people want to get in touch, I think it's not probably the best and easiest manner, right, to get in touch with you directly.
Twitter is great.
Along with every other link to the collaboration platform and Tiny Factories as well. So
thank you.
That's basically it, WeiWei. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to hear about your outlooks, and I think they're really important because I think they're literally a sign of the times that will come, that will merge creativity and business, and as you say, indeprenneurship as something that's not going to be on the fringes, but slowly but surely coming more into the center.
Yeah, I hope so, and I hope to contribute to that as well.
Yeah, you're already contributing. There's no doubt. I mean, the ideas that you're putting out, conceptual, are important, but having that in mind, that with actual projects, it's great, and it's something that a lot of people should use as a direct example of how they can approach things and see their projects come out of their minds and into something more tangible. So again, WeiWei, thank you so much. Have a great day, and I would love to see you share your not only projects but especially these photo comics with the world soon enough. I personally would love to read them.
Thank you. I hope to read them too.
Of course. But I bet with everything you do, it's not going to be long before you have that visual essay, photo comic prototype out. So thanks again for joining into I Am Gaming podcast, and thank you for watching. It's really cool. If you found this interesting, please share. And if you're a first-time viewer on the channel, subscribe. Also have my Patreon link down below, all the way down below, all WeiWei links. So check out that as well. If you have a buck to spare, I would love to have that buck. And that's all for this episode. I will see you on the next episode of I Am Gaming Podcast. Until then, thanks again, WeiWei, and everyone else have an awesome day. Bye-bye.
Bye.